today, I'm going to be showing you in depth how I made this hot sauce commercial. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my pre-planning process and the song and sound design work, and after that I'm going to go into a detailed breakdown of some of my favorite shots and shot sequences, showing you exactly how I lit, filmed, and edited them. First up is pre-planning. The vision was for this video to be a 30-second hero video introducing my friend's new hot sauce. This variety of sauce is very spicy, so I wanted an intense, moody look. For the style of this video, I drew a lot of inspiration from people like Schiffer, Austen Paul, and Parker Walbeck, whose channels I'll link in the description. In terms of the gear used, I was shooting on a Panasonic GX7 with just the kit lens, and for the lighting I used a couple of cheap softboxes that were under $100. Before doing any shooting, I did some brainstorming with my friend, and we created a list of possible shots, transitions, and effects. Now, this wasn't a concrete list. Some of these shots never made it to the final cut. However, it was a good way to make sure that I would have everything I needed come time to edit. Now, let's talk a little bit about the audio. The track I used for this video was actually made by another friend of mine specifically for this project, which is really cool because as filmmakers, we're always just using random songs. I think he did a great job on the track, and it definitely helped convey the mood and feeling that I was going for. If you aren't already, make sure to spend plenty of time picking out songs for your videos. I know that everyone says this, but the audio truly does drive the story just as much as the visuals. But of course, a song isn't the only part of the audio experience. For the sound design in this video, like when you hear the fire crackling at the end, I used Artlist's sound effect library. You don't have to use Artlist, but you definitely do have to incorporate some decent sound design into your videos if you want to make them pop. Good sound design makes for a really engaging video and can help sell some of your shots, transitions, and effects. And now I'm going to dive into a few of my favorite shots and shot sequences, showing you exactly how I lit, filmed, and edited them. First up is this lightning effect at the beginning. The goal of this shot is to create suspense and interest without yet giving away what the hot sauce bottle actually looks like. So for my lighting, I placed my softboxes slightly behind the bottle and on an angle, which creates something that looks like this. Then I started rolling on my camera and turned off each light independent of the other, and then both together. This way, in post-production, I could take still images from the clip with different lights on and off, and cut and fade them together quickly for a lightning effect. In terms of the color grading, I brought the highlights up to make the sides of the bottle really pop, and then brought the midtones and shadows down, so that way you can't easily see the label of the sauce. Another cool effect you probably saw sprinkled throughout the video is the smoke coming out from the hot peppers and the bottle. I really like the look of this effect, and it's actually quite easy because it's 100% in camera. To do this, we crumpled up a piece of paper and put it behind the object being filmed, then lit it slightly until it turned black and started to emit smoke. When there isn't too much wind, it actually kind of looks like the smoke is coming from the object itself. Obviously, you have to be careful with this one, do it outside with other people around, and have water or a hose on hand. You're not trying to actually light the piece of paper on fire, but this does accidentally happen sometimes, so of course, be careful. Another spicy effect is on the beat drop of the song when a pepper is cut from a plant, falls, and is engulfed in flames. Once again, most of this was done in camera since I didn't have an easy way to get my hands on some green screen fire. For this shot, we had one person actually dropping the pepper from the top of the plant instead of cutting it, since the plant only had a few ripe peppers on it and we needed to be able to shoot a bunch of attempts. Then a second person shot a flame using hairspray and a lighter just as the pepper got to the bottom of the frame. The trick here was to make sure that the fire filled the entire field of view for at least a couple of frames, that way it could mask the transition from one shot to the next. The timing and framing took a while to get right, but in the end, I think it turned out really well. And then in post, I masked around the fire to create a nice transition. Also for this shot and a few of the other ones around it, I desaturated everything except for the color red to draw attention to the hot peppers. Another shot sequence that I really like is this spinning sequence. For my lighting here, I used a simple one light overhead setup to keep the background dark and moody while making the peppers and bottles stand out. In order to get the objects to spin around, you could just use a Lazy Susan, but I didn't have one, so I made a complex spinning apparatus with a slightly broken fidget spinner at the bottom. Anyways, these shots aren't too complicated. The camera is stationary on a tripod while the objects spin around. And then in post, I used a bunch of speed ramps to transition from shot to shot. What I really like about this technique is that it can be used for almost any product of a fairly small size, and all you need is a tripod and something to spin the objects on. One extra thing you could do to truly make your product videos pop is to add some condensation where it makes sense. For this commercial, I added condensation to the bottle and the peppers in a bunch of the shots by simply mixing them with water. If you're able to use glycerin, that works even better since it sticks to objects more readily, but water works fine as well. Now let's talk about this final little sequence here. For my setup, I went with the same simple overhead lighting, and since I didn't have a black table or tablecloth, I just laid down a bunch of black pieces of paper, and I doubt anyone noticed. Now, there were 4 separate shots that went into this sequence. The hot sauce bottle spinning round, the bottle being slammed down, some peppers being thrown up, and some smoke. Let's start with the spinning bottle shot. In order to go from this to this, I had to go frame by frame, masking out the background so only the bottle remained. As you can see, I attempted to use a green screen for this, but it didn't end up working out, so I just ended up masking around the bottle. Then I put the bottle on the background of the other shots and keyframed in a zoom and rotation to make it look as though the bottle is spinning and flying onto the table. For the shot of the bottle slamming down, I did the same process of masking out the background so you could only see the bottle and my hand. I did this because I wanted the peppers and smoke to pop up behind the bottle, and they were in separate shots to the one with the bottle slamming down. When I put those shots behind the one of the bottle slamming down, they're revealed once I mask out the background. The trick here is to keep your lighting and exposure the same throughout all of the different shots, that way they blend together easily and look like they're happening at the same time. Now, this already looks really nice, but I wanted to step it up even further by adding a lightning effect similar to the one at the beginning of the commercial. However, I wasn't able to use the same technique of turning the lights on and off, since I would have to do that for all 4 shots at the same time and match them up together. And even if I did this, it wouldn't look very good because simply flickering the lights doesn't make for a very good lighting effect. So I recreated the effect in post by randomly changing the brightness in different areas at different times. It took a while to make it look natural, but you just have to play around with it and eventually it will look nice. Now, while I don't expect you to replicate this entire sequence exactly, there are many creative ways you can use layering and masking to create visually appealing effects like this. And now a few general takeaways and tips for your own commercials. My first tip is to have some sort of story or concept in the ad. You don't just want a montage of interesting shots, there should be some type of underlying story, even if it's really simple. For example, in this video, suspense is built at the beginning with the lightning, then we get some shots of the peppers used to make the sauce, then some close-ups of details on the bottle, and finally, the whole bottle is revealed to us at the end with the last shot. This helps keep the audience engaged and gives them a reason to keep watching your ad. Another tip is to please do not neglect audio. If you can't get your hands on any sound effects and can't record them yourself, it's not the end of the world. But definitely make sure that you're investing plenty of effort into picking a song that fits the mood you're going for, and then editing your footage to fit that song. You might even want to consider picking the song before you film the video, which allows you to shoot with the song in mind. My last tip is to make sure that you have enough variation between shots in your ad. Now, this isn't much of a problem if you're shooting, say, a 15-second commercial, but once you get upwards of there, make sure there isn't too much repetition. You don't want every shot to look completely different, but you also don't want every shot to look completely the same. When making a 30-second commercial, you may want to shoot in multiple locations or at least with multiple different lighting setups. Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but definitely just make sure that you're getting ample variation in your shots. That's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of the commercial in the comments below, and see you guys in the next video.